Good evening, and thanks for joining tonight's TI Technology webinar hosted by Texas Instruments. For tonight, we're going to take a look at how to write and hopefully receive some successful grants. My name is Mike Houston, and I'm the moderator for this event. I teach algebra and calculus near Pittsburgh, where I use TI Technology to make tough-to-teach, tough-to-learn concepts accessible to all my students. I'm really excited to be joined by our two panelists tonight, Lisa Suarez and Howard Stern. Lisa is a retired mathematics teacher from Cleveland, Ohio. She now teaches high school students robotics, computing, and drones in an engineering program at Cayuga Community College and continues to present at mathematics and technology conferences. Lisa, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And Howard is in his 14th year of teaching high school math in New York City, bringing to full circle a teaching career that began in Japan 40 years ago. Howard organizes the Educational Technology User Group for the Bronx and the Westchester counties. He is a renewal master teaching fellow with Math for America, an adjunct lecturer at Purchase College, and presents at math and educator conferences. Howard, thanks for joining us tonight.
Glad to be here.
We're expecting a large crowd, so your audio is muted. Feel free at any time to send any questions to Howard or Lisa using the Q&A window on the right side of the screen. We'll also be using the chat window to send general messages. As a reminder, this session is being recorded, so if you happen to miss something from tonight, have no fear, you'll automatically get a follow-up email, and in that follow-up email will be a link to the recording, and that way you can go back at your own pace. I know that Howard and Lisa have a lot of information to share with you, so it might be great to have that recording on hand so you can look back and maybe see some of the steps that they have taken to receive some of their grants. We hope you don't have any audio issues tonight, but in the event that you do, first thing to try is selecting Communicate at the top of the WebEx menu and choose Audio Broadcast. If that doesn't help, then find your name in that participant window on the right side of your screen. And in that same participant window, there'll be a little icon that looks like a phone. Mine's in the lower left-hand corner. And if you click that phone icon, it'll give you information that you can call in using a cell phone or a landline. And that should clear up any potential audio issues that you have moving forward. At this point, Lisa is going to discuss our agenda.
Well, good evening, everyone. What we're going to try and do today is share some resources with you, first from the TI website to try and help you get some TI technology for your classroom. Some of the strategies, we want to share some of the strategies Howard and I have used to get grants. And then after that, Howard's going to go over Donors Choose, which is a great website. I used it a lot too when I was teaching and received a lot of TI equipment for my classroom. And then Mike will end it by giving away some free stuff.
Thanks so much, Lisa. And Howard is going to discuss our expected outcomes.
Okay, you can probably read that, but outcomes we expect that we're going to explore some strategies for creating proposals. Generally, the best proposals or the best chance of funding is if they're goal-oriented. We're going to map out some objectives and milestones for how proposals are evaluated, and we're going to discuss projects after funding ends, including the role of professional development. I think we
Howard, thanks so much.
That should be ROLE, right?
It should be. We'll type on my
Sorry
part.
about that, guys.
And Lisa, it's all yours. Go ahead and share your screen.
All right. So here's the TI website. It's education.ti.com. And what I wanted to share with you is under Resources, the Resources tab, there's a link to Funding and Research. Then on the right, there's Grant Writing, and you can click on Learn More. And from the Learn More website, TI has put together a lot of resources, much more than we can go over in an hour. But I just wanted to highlight a few things and kind of just point out some things that we think are important that can help you get a grant to get TI technology in your classroom. The first thing is a lot of the stuff that is on this website is abbreviated from two documents the TI has on the website. One of them is right here in the middle. It says Guide to Winning Small Grants from Community Sources. And I'll show you a little bit about that in a couple minutes. But there's another document on here if you're feeling more ambitious for writing large-scale grants like federal grants or state grants. Now, the first link is Successful Grant Writing Strategies. And when you click on Learn More, down here at the bottom it says Get Started Here. And these are the main parts of writing a grant. And the first thing, and probably the most important thing, is defining your need. You know, why is it that you need TI equipment, let's say, some calculators in your classroom? You know, why are you requesting these funds? These questions right here are real important to help you define your need and why you want people to give you money. So that's this page, Define the Need. I'm going to close that and just click on the link in front, the minus, and it closes it. The next item here is identifying and contacting potential funders. They have a lot of stuff here, but I think the most important thing that I found when I was writing grants was trying to find local organizations or businesses that wanted to give money. Like when I was teaching, I got the most amount of money, probably tens of thousands of dollars from our Browns football team. So the owner was the owner of a bank, and he started giving grants to teachers in the Cleveland area. So he just kept writing grants to them. So if you can find some local businesses, that's the best place to start. The next thing is crafting your proposal. Now, when you craft the proposal, again, it's just thinking about who's going to help you, what resources do you have available. Some of the best grants that I wrote and the easiest to get, I always had somebody to help me write. You know, another teacher in the school, a counselor, a teacher, a friend at another school. If you can get all your resources together, then that helps. The next thing on the page is basic proposal elements. And here I wanted to point out, once again, it talks about statement of need. Why is it that you need this? Many grants ask for description of your project. And here it talks about, you know, your goal. What is it that you want to achieve? You know, if you want to have calculators for your classroom, you know, what is it you're going to do with them? You know, you're not just going to have them in the classroom. You have some goals that you want the kids. Maybe if you're teaching algebra, there's some concepts that you have identified that are very difficult for students, and you really believe that TI technology will help you achieve those goals with the kids, then that's what you put in your grant. And you want to make sure that the objectives that you put in are measurable. Because a lot of grants will ask you, you know, you have this goal, how are you going to know when the kids have achieved that goal? So you have to be able to measure. And measurement doesn't have to be real formal, you know, depending on the grant. If it's local, maybe you can just use some teacher tests, you know, some pre and post tests that you make up. If it's a bigger grant, then you may have to have something more formal. You may have to get someone to evaluate your project, an outside evaluator. But, you know, the small grants that I received, that was not an issue. We just you know, wrote pre and post tests, tried to get anecdotes from the kids, have the kids write letters, just sharing what they learned. And it's very powerful when the kids share. All right, the next part is writing and formatting tips. Writing a grant is, you know, it's a different kind of writing. It's not like, you know, writing that you do very often. You want to make sure that you keep everything short and to the point. You want to be very concrete and specific. And one thing that I found that they don't have, TI doesn't have on this tab is try to avoid educational jargon, especially when if you choose to write a Donors Choose grant that Howard's going to go over. is you want to just make it in plain English. If you have to use some, acronym or, some abbreviation, make sure you explain it, because you never know who the readers are. They may not be teachers. The next one is federal and state grant funding. These are a little bit more involved. You may have to have a lot more time and get more people involved with you, but they are doable. At my school, we wrote a NASA Explorer Schools grant that a team of us at our school worked on, and we got, and we were very successful with it. We ended up getting $17,500 to buy not just TI equipment, but we purchased all kinds of computers, smart boards. So they're doable. So don't let the size of the grant scare you away. If it matches your goals, then find like-minded people to help you and try to write the grant. And the last tab here is Keys to Success. And Keys to Success, I think the most important thing in this tab is to follow the grant guidelines very carefully. Answer their questions, be very specific. Just make sure that you try to give them what they're asking for. And another thing that I found is if it's an organization or a large business, sometimes they'll have a vision or a mission statement. So I try to read those things, their statements that they have, and try to incorporate some of their vision into what I'm trying to do in my classroom. All right, so now if I go back to this page, right here, this Guide to Winning Small Grants from Community Sources, this document is pretty good. Like I said, it's been abbreviated in what I just went over very quickly. But there's one thing in the document I wanted to show you, and it's in step 4. You notice step 4 and step 5, they say organize to win, develop the proposal, and then they also give you a sample letter of inquiry if you want to write to a large organization. And this one is to a foundation. So it gives you an idea of how to write one of these letters. And then if we go back to the grant writing page, grant writing resources, there's a lot of websites TI has put together. Some of these are for bigger grants, and they give you some more information on how to write a grant. The National Science Foundation. There's a lot of really good information here. When you have time, if you're interested, if you want to write a grant, you should look at them. And then if I go back to the main page, once again, contact a TI technology consultant. TI has some great ETCs, educational technology consultants. We have a really fantastic one in Ohio that anytime you need help, you can contact them. If you don't know who your ETC is or your technology consultant is, you can click on contact here, and there's this grant writing assistance form. You can fill this out and someone will contact you. TI is really good at communicating with teachers, always trying to help us get what we need to teach our kids. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you, this is that's it for the website, but there was one other website that I found as I was preparing, because this stuff is always changing. Technology, there's always so many different websites available, but I found another website called Get Ed Funding, and it was very good because when you have to create an account, and then when you go to search, you can put in your state. And I just put in Ohio. I said I was public. You can put whatever kind of school you teach at, what your grade level is, your focus, your content area, your different themes that you want to address in your grant. And when I did that, I received 42 items matching my request. So these are different organizations and associations, foundations, businesses in Ohio that offer grants to teachers. This is a great place to start. Now, as I went through, not all of them were from my area. Like there was one that didn't include Cleveland. They said only in the cities in Ohio that they have a presence. But that was just, you know, one of all of them that I found. So you can go through here and you can find different associations, different people that are willing to help you. And I think that's it. I went through the website. I think now I'm going to, whoops, sorry. I'm going to pass it over. Before
you pass it over, Lisa,
yep.
one of the participants was asking if you have a proposal template that, or a link to like a template for writing proposals. Was that on the TI site that you saw?
TI does not have a template, but we do have some documents that we're going to share, and we have a template for Donors Choose, where you can fill in information that we're going to share. And then, because many of the grants, you know, a lot of the parts are very similar. They may have a different title, but the objective is the same, so you just have to adapt the different sections.
Yeah, I think that addresses the question.
Oops, I'm trying to share. I'll give it to Howard now.
Okay, which means I've got it, so let me share mine. Share screen. Okay. Well, hello. I'm Howard, and I'm going to take over for a little bit and discuss specifically about DonorsChoose.org. I've been using DonorsChoose since I started as a teacher, and so I've got a lot of experience with them. And I've been working with them enough that they've asked me on as a volunteer, so I actually screen proposals for them that the teachers write. A lot of the work they do is done with volunteers, which is how they keep their overhead very low, and they get a very good rating from the nonprofits rating agencies, because they do spend most of their money on the actual funding of what they say they're going to do. So we got DonorsChoose.org, and not to do a sales pitch for DonorsChoose, but they've done a lot for me, and just here's an overview of what they've done since they started back in, I think it was 2002, maybe a couple years before that. That a teacher in New York City realized that you might be able to use the power of the internet to get money for teachers for projects. So there's the impact. Here's more about the impact. You don't only have to ask for calculators. You can get books. I've gotten review books for AP exams. I've never done it, but people get field trips funded. Classroom supplies. My students typically don't like to buy graph paper notebooks, but I'd like them to use them. So I've gotten class sets of graph paper notebooks and just give them out to the students. You can get all sorts of supplies. You're not limited to just calculators. In math and science, this is how proposals have broken down in what they call their math and science area, that more than half of the math and science proposals are actually math. And so one of the things is, okay, 76% of public schools have used DonorsChoose. 2/3 of proposals are funded. Donors typically give $55 as an average size first donation. Most projects take just under a month to get funded, and so on. Average cost of a funded project, $600. The more expensive the materials you're asking for, the lower your chance of being funded. Typically, if you keep things under $400, almost all of those get funded. If you keep it under $1,000, then it's better. The proposals that go over $1,000, unless you started with someone in mind who's going to fund it for you, they have a tougher time getting funded. So how is DonorsChoose different than a grant? Lisa was just talking about grants. DonorsChoose.org works as a type of grant, but it's sort of like microfunding. You do not need to get administrator or district authorization. You don't have to have some PhD signing off is the academic side of it, to do whatever research foundation is. There aren't any forms to complete. This says other than an online short essay. After funding, you also have to write thank you letters, and you might have to provide pictures of happy students. And you can have up to 8 live proposals at one time. It works. I've been using this for 13 years and had many things funded. What can it do for you? Well, you can post a proposal for a class set of Inspire. You can post a proposal. I did one last year for a class set of Innovator Hubs. Actually, as I mentioned with the dollar size, I broke it into 2 proposals for Innovator Hubs to keep the dollar amount down, so each one was a smaller amount. Supplies. There, I've got a picture of my graph paper notebook there. So.
Yeah, Howard, I wanted to mention that too. So I got a class set of Inspires, but I did it 10 at a time on Donors Choose.
Yeah, because 10, depending who you get it, that's like $1,200, and that's within the funding range. So here's some ideas for things that people do in upper grades. I don't want to be prejudiced or anything, but I assumed sort of that most of the people who are dialing in are middle school and above. So I apologize to any elementary school teachers who dialed in. But here's some ideas for upper grade, and I'm sure other teachers know what they need in the classroom. And anything you want, you can ask for. Magnets. Why are magnets there twice? Toner for printers. I do that regularly. Dry erase markers. That my school regularly runs out of dry erase markers, and rather than fight with the supply guy, I just get dry erase markers, and then I have them when I need them. iPads, Chromebooks, trips, visitors, resources, all manner of things. Okay, who is eligible to submit a proposal? First off, I noticed one of the people logging in is from Bogota, Colombia. So, bienvenido, sorry guy. Donors Choose only works for United States teachers. So any of our Canadian friends or any people outside U.S., this part isn't going to help you, and I apologize for that. But if you work full-time at a public school in the United States, you're eligible to submit a proposal. If you are a teacher, librarian, guidance counselor, school nurse, full-time teacher who acts as a coach. Keep in mind that most charter schools are public schools. So don't think because it says public schools and you're at a charter, you can't submit. No, charter schools for the most part are public schools. So go for it. Who might fund your project? Strangers. Yeah, I've had a good quantity of just kind-hearted strangers who funded stuff. Some of them have some affiliation to the school I work at, and they see that and they say, oh, I'm gonna fund that. Parents of students sometimes will fund things. Former students will sometimes fund things. Family members and friends are the big ones for me, funding. And you can also fund yourself. The reason, so why would you want to fund yourself? Well, here's the deal. That Donors Choose is a tax privileged organization. It's a nonprofit, which means if you donate to your own proposal, there's a chance you can write it off as a charitable contribution. So instead of just buying the materials for your classroom, I'm not a tax advisor, but there's a possibility that at the end of the year when you file your taxes, you'll be able to take that same amount and claim it as a charitable contribution. You're still using the stuff in the classroom, but there's some tax advantage to it. Also, I'll mention that this slide says even just $20 to complete the project or just $20 to start the project off. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Okay, so how do you get started? Well, right here you see what the URL is, donorschoose.org. I'm pretty sure if you accidentally say donorschoose.com, that will also work. I think they purchased that domain. I know for certain that if you don't do the camel case with a capital D, capital C, that still works. If you want to put in www.donorschoose.org, that'll work. Many ways to get there, but easy to remember, donorschoose.org, and that's the legal name of the company. so you can get started. And if you don't have an account yet, it's going to ask you to create an account. Not that much involved in creating an account. You see the 6 types of questions they're going to ask you. Okay. You are going to need to have some photos from time to time. You're going to have a teacher photo. So when we screen projects, we have this tool, the green oval face tool. And faces have to be smaller than the green oval tool. Otherwise, the photo is not allowed. Because for safety, DonorsChoose is trying to keep things anonymous. And they figure if a face is smaller than that green oval, that then no one's going to go and stalk the kid. So here, item 2, not allowed. That photo would be rejected. Item 4, that photo would be rejected. Item 3 just makes it, just small enough. Item 1, those faces fit very nicely inside the green oval. Okay. Oh yeah, over here. If you use photos of students, make sure you have signed permission slips from parents, because I've never been challenged on it, but you don't want to be challenged years later and then say, oh shoot, I forgot to get permission slip, because things can come up. I often will sidestep the issue by avoiding faces in the photos I take. I take photos from the back, or I cut off the heads when I frame the shot. But also easy just to get permission slips. You can take pictures of the classroom bulletin board, and then you don't have to worry about permission slips. But you cannot use clip art, right? Don't submit some picture you downloaded from a Google image search. Use an actual photo that make it personal, make people happy, make them think they know something about your classroom. Don't use some picture of a Care Bear and then say, okay, I'm a great teacher. The reason this matters, that profile picture is going to be used on every proposal you submit. So for example, profile picture here. Let's look at here. You see this one here? This is my profile picture. It appears on every proposal I submit. And here I am, and it's actually an old photo. This is from 2010. But once I put it up, I just don't bother changing it because it works. And that shows a class of happy students. So that's why you want a teacher profile picture. Used in each proposal. So at a glance, when you're searching proposals, you can see, oh, I know that teacher, because you recognize the photo. So what do donors see? Here's an example of what donors see when they go to the site. Okay, they can choose by subject, what kind of project they want to look at. I have, here, let's look at, you can select down, select, if I were to look at just proposals for math teachers, high school math teachers in New York City. You can see right now there are 31 projects posted by math teachers in New York City. This is what the donor would see. You'd see, okay, here there's this 16 people who donated to this project. Here's my proposal, 4 people have donated to that so far, another $43, and I get that. Notice over here, the first proposal, nothing special. Over at my proposal, 2x, donations to this project are currently being matched thanks to an anonymous funder. I have no idea who that person is. I didn't even know about that when I submitted the proposal, but someone is giving money. This
yeah, I think that's really cool about DonorsChoose, because there'll be different times that, I like to have, when I was in the classroom, always have something up, because there'll be a certain time of the year where just some business will randomly say, okay, I'm going to match every dollar all of these proposals get, dollar for dollar, or you'll get an anonymous donor that'll match, and it's really cool that way.
Yeah, 2 years ago they had this thing that the promotion was called the Best School Day, and just across the country they had various prominent people were funding proposals down to $100. So if you came up with just $100, you know, your class set of Chromebooks, boom, funded for $100.
Howard, someone's asking
Lisa mentioned time of year. Sorry, Lisa, let me just finish the sentence. This time of year is one of those times, right at back to school time, and if you have time this evening, maybe consider getting an account and creating a proposal, because tomorrow just might be an interesting day on Donors Choose. I'm sorry, Lisa, you were going to say.
Someone wanted to see yours. If you can click on yours and kind of show your grant.
Sure. Interactive math manipulations with graphing handhelds. My students need Inspire graphing handheld calculators to manipulate their math. Can you see that?
Howard, as you're about to show that, we did have another question that the question is, does the funding from Donors Choose is it only like local funding?
It's from all over. But I've had funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I had funding from a hedge fund operator. I've had funding from there's a fast food place called Sonic that they do a thing called Limeades for students, and I get some funding from that. An insurance company was just giving, when they saw someone had a financial literacy project, they were giving money. So sometimes it's local, sometimes it's from people you never heard of, or else just a company you've heard of but you don't do business with.
Thanks.
Okay. So we're looking at my proposal. This is what a proposal looks like. You know, if someone finds something that they're interested in, then they can read. So here's my sales pitch. Lisa was talking about you got to make a compelling sales pitch. When you fill this out, Donors Choose has a template, so they have different parts and they guide you. Hey, tell us in one sentence what your students need, and then plug it in this first part. And then describe your students, and it plugs that in this part. And then the description of the students, it just takes whatever your third sentence is and puts it in italics in bigger type, like over here, okay? And then it says, okay, now tell us specifically about this project. And describe you want to describe the actual resources, item by item. Unless you're asking for like a dozen different things, then summarize the types of things you're asking. But describe how the students are going to use them, how they're going to benefit, how the class is going to benefit, what expected outcomes you have for doing that. And then close with a nice paragraph, nice feel-good paragraph about how, you know, that donating will make a wonderful contribution or change the lives of my students. Okay. One of the nice things about Donors Choose is they tell you item by item what you've requested. Like here, I've requested 4 calculators for $119. I've requested 3 more for $129. I'm going to talk about this in a little while. When you source things, you're limited to where you can source them. And over here, these 4 are from Amazon, and this vendor will only sell a maximum of 4 units. So I had to get 3 more, also from Amazon, but another vendor who's willing to sell me more. So instead of buying 7 for $129, I got 4 at the cheap price and 3 more from a different Amazon place. So you're going to have to pick and choose a little bit. So a potential donor can see penny by penny where his donation is going, right? So the materials, $870. Amazon doesn't charge for shipping. New York educational funding is tax exempt, so there's no sales tax. They have to have the payment is processed, so there's a fee that they get on that. Labor and fulfillment, that means they have to pay postage to send thank you notes to people and to send things in and out. So this is paying postage and some of the materials related to running their business. Total project cost, $912. Then after this, here's my subtotal, $912.98, which the funder sees. They're saying, hey, if you feel like it, you could also give us some additional money, $161.11. This comes out, I think, is just 15% of what this top line number is. Yeah, I think that'll work out. No, not quite. I'm not sure where they got the 161 from. 161, that's 20% of this. Maybe it's 18%, but they're asking for this money. notice it's suggested that when you give a donation, here, let's pretend I'm going to give a donation. Let's give a whopping $1 to this project. Okay, includes optional 15% donation. Again, that's optional. I can always go in there and say, I don't want to give anything more. Or I'm rolling in the dough, I'm going to give more than 15%. So that overhead stuff is optional. It helps the charity run, but you're not obligated to give it. Okay, I'm going to delete this because I don't want to accidentally do that. Okay, here we are. So here's the project. Where your donation goes, and then here's, well, I think I'm not going to show that part, but then you can see the project activity. At the very beginning, I submitted the project. Susan, who's a volunteer, reviewed the project and said it's okay. Renee is another volunteer. She checks the prices, and the prices all matched what they said they were, and then she got the project posted, and from there, some money came in. Okay, let me go back to the slides. So that's what the donors see. You saw this, right? So I already showed this, that you can filter by different things. Okay, now here's the nuts and bolts. You want to create a project. So once you have your account, then you can create a project. What type of project? Probably a standard project. Let's go. Tell us about your students. You know, I teach high school, so I would check off the 9, 10, 11, 12. How many students will benefit this year? You know, I typically have, 100 to 120 each semester, so I would fill this in with like 200 as the number of students. Describe your students. This stuff here where it says describe your students, where's my mouse? Here it is. This is what goes in that first paragraph. Describe your students. Classroom photo, that's the one that goes over here. That's the classroom photo. Once you provide the photo, it's in your account and you don't have to keep providing it unless you want to change the photo. Save and continue. Go shopping. So you go shopping, and Donors Choose has preferred vendors. Let me show you what that looks like. So let's go to projects. I've got a draft project I made for doing this with. So here, we talked about that. Age group for me, it's high school. I've wrote 200 there. Here's my my intro about my students. As you see, the third sentence is highlighted in green. That's the one that's going to be in the bigger font in italics. My classroom photos, that same photo I've been using. Then what am I using? Here are the vendors that are on the Donors Choose marketplace. AKJ is mostly a book vendor. Amazon Business is a subset of the Amazon website. You can only get things that are Amazon Prime eligible. Best Buy Education is a subset of Best Buy. Blick Art Materials, Britannica Digital Learning does publishing. Carolina Biological. I'm sure some of these names you guys are probably already buying from at your schools. CDWG has the technology. Dick's Sporting Goods, Frey Scientific, Kaplan Early Learning, Quill, Staples, School Specialty, Scholastic Magazines. These are the approved vendors. It's possible to get other people who aren't on that list, but then I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. That's called a special request. So these are the vendors. Once you go in here, it's worth it to do some comparison shopping. For example, if I'm going to buy some Inspire CX, I'm going to look at Amazon. I'm also going to go to Best Buy and see what their price is. I'm going to go to CDW, see what their price is. I'm going to check out, I'm not sure Lakeshore says it. NASCO might sell them. Quill, I think, sells, and Staples. And I'm going to check the pricing. Not because I'm paying the money, but the total cost of my proposal, the higher the total cost of my proposal, the lower my chances of getting funding, or else the longer it takes to get funded. So I want to comparison shop and make the total cost of my proposal as low as possible. If it's not here, here's where we got the special request. Okay, so that's Go Shopping. That's the stuff. Okay, here's an example of if we went into a school specialty. You'd see this screen. They give you the requirements. Make sure you're doing things right. Then from there, you're just on the vendor website, and you just shop as though you're shopping anyway. At the end, once you have all the items you want, you're going to proceed to checkout, and then it's going to transfer the shopping cart over to the DonorsChoose website. So you have to do both these steps. First, you have to check out. Don't worry, you're not being charged, but it's taking your shopping cart, and here it's sending it over to DonorsChoose for it to appear on your proposal. Okay, so then here's the school specialty stuff from this example. Right? And before you go any further, you can take a look and say, oh, okay, this is $256. Let's say this came up to $456, and you know that there's like a break point at $400, and your chances of being funded are much better at $400. You might say, oh, okay, I want to bring it under, so I'm gonna cut this down to 10 of these things, or 11 and 11, right, to bring it under 400, and you can adjust that way. Okay. Summarize. My students need, this is that first sentence. You'll write it on the third page of your proposal, but what the donors see or potential donors see, this is the first thing they see. It's like a summary of what you want. Classifying among these three major categories: supplies, technology, books, save and continue, and go to the fourth page. Here's where you put in your title. And this is also where you put that last section, the sales pitch about how this is going to change the lives of your students. And then you categorize. For me, I go into math and science. Let me show you this. I go into math and science. That would be Y. Okay. Math and science, and I always click off math, and just have a second thing. I almost always click off applied sciences. Sometimes you'll be writing a STEAM proposal, and then maybe you'll do math and music and the arts, right? Depending what's going on. But you can pick the subject areas. This is beneficial. It's like a hashtag, right? So when the potential donors are looking for what they want to fund, they say, hey, I want to fund a grant about applied science. I want to fund a grant about music. I want to fund a grant about both music and math. And they use them as search terms. So that's why the subject areas are important. So we got that. Then you proofread. Make sure you got everything saying what you think it does. Make changes as you need to. This is where you're going to find that, like one of my famous things I always do is I repeat the word the. So it is important for the students to do, and here's where I catch it. So, okay, delete one of those extra words. And this is sort of a preview of what it's going to look like when it's live. And if you're happy with it, you made your sales pitch right, read it from the point of view of a potential donor. Don't read it from the point of view of you, the teacher. Lisa mentioned this already when she was talking about it. If you're using these educator words like ENLs or ELLs or words that we know because we use them every day, or at least if you're going to use the acronyms, explain it at least once in your proposal. So then when you use it again, they know what you're talking about. What else? When I'm screening proposals, one of the ones that bothers me is that a lot of them say, my students receive free or reduced lunch. And I say, why are they receiving a reduced lunch? Are they on a diet? So I always go in and say reduced dash price lunch, because it's not a reduced lunch, it's a reduced price lunch. But read from a potential donor's perspective. And then, oops. Be specific. Describe resources by name. Tell them why you're asking for it. Help the donors connect with your enthusiasm for teaching. Use persuasive writing techniques. That usually means active voice. That usually means correct grammar. That usually means don't be cutesy. That usually means don't use 15 exclamation points in a row. I think the guidelines currently are, it doesn't come up too much, but smiley faces are removed when we're screening proposals. Be original if you can. Avoid trite, cliche, idiosyncratic, and excessive exclamatories. I can't tell you how many proposals I've seen that I'm sure the teacher thinks it's original, but the title is essentially a variation on lions and tigers and bears, oh my. So noun 1, noun 2, noun 3, oh my. And it's happened so much, it's not cute, but other people have done it already. So if you're going to be cute, come up with something new to be cute with. You cannot, this is supposed to be anonymous. So you can't share your name, you can't share your school name, you can't share your school address, you can't share web or email addresses. If you do, the proposal will either be sent back to you or the names and addresses will be removed. Because it's supposed to be an anonymous crowdfunding source. So the donor doesn't know exactly who he's giving it to, and the recipients don't know exactly who gave it to them. Once your project is live, a proposal stays live for 4 months. Check your emails, because you'll know when donations are made, and you'll also know when the proposal is fully funded. Once the proposal is fully funded, you have a limited time. I think it's 2 days to respond and say, yes, confirm, I really want this thing. Anytime someone funds, even if someone just gives $1 to your proposal, write a thank you note. It posts up on the bottom of the proposal. So, you know, they'll say, I gave because Mr. Stern is so wonderful. Say, thank you so much. Your help, you know, my students appreciate your help. Write a quick note of appreciation. Okay, let's pretend it worked and you are 100% funded. You have to confirm you want the materials. Part of the confirmation, you have to write out a letter of appreciation. That's like 2 paragraphs. It's like, you know, 250 words roughly, generally. So it's not a lot, but to say thank you again for funding this. I can hardly wait to receive the materials. At this time, an email will be generated to the principal of your school and also 3 other teachers that Donors Choose might know about at your school. Usually if there's 3 teachers, if there's only 3 teachers who've registered at Donors Choose, those 3 teachers will get everything. If there's more than 3, then they randomly pick from the list of teachers they know at your school and just say, Mr. Stern has had a project funded. You know, congratulate Mr. Stern on getting these resources. So you get the resource. Most projects will require that you send thank you notes. Not your thank you note, but students have to write thank you notes. This is sometimes the hardest part of the proposal, is getting students to write a thank you note. You, again, cannot put names. You cannot put addresses or school names in these notes, and it's so hard to get students to follow these simple instructions, like saying, do not mention the name of the school. Do not mention your name. No, they can sign with their first name, don't sign with their last name. And Donors Choose will provide you with a prepaid label, so you just print it out, collect the thank you notes, and mail it in. You can choose how long it takes. You know, usually I think there's a limit of within 2 months to get the thank you notes written. But it's usually best, I've found, to do this immediately when you receive the proposal. I'm looking up at the clock and seeing we're running short on time. So let me just go quickly. Upload photos. This is also good when you receive the stuff. Take pictures of the kids unpacking the boxes. Write an impact letter, and that's your obligation. Field trip. This will be on the slide. Points system. You can read this stuff later. You can look for special funding opportunities. This is important. So let me show you this. For example, in New York, on the Donors Choose page, right, if I were to go to my projects, right, over here there's a link that says Find Match Offers. It knows I'm in New York, so it's going to select for New York. Whatever state you live in, it'll select. And this is sort of like the search that Lisa showed us earlier. But this is on Donors Choose. Let's see, if I'm pre-K, that's not me, but if you are pre-K, that might help. Projects that combine STEM and the arts. Okay, so this is team projects where the total is below 1,000. You might tailor the project to fit this requirement in order to get, what is this? This is a one-to-one matching, so it's essentially half off. Online test prep, one-to-one matching, so that's essentially half off. Music essentials, project request non-instrument music essentials. Using time in your classroom. Robotics, and you'll find there's usually several things for any given state, and they'll tell you the requirements to qualify for the offer. And that's sort of like that one on my project. That you know, I have some doubling. I have no idea why, because no one ever explained that to me. It's just when it was posted, boom, there it was. All donations are being doubled. So it happens, and it's fun when that happens. Selective funding, if they're selective, Almost Home, someone funds down to $96 or $98. That happened on Best School Day 2 years ago. Double your impact means that's what happened to mine, that half of it was funded. So it's like matching funding. Fully funded, thank you very much. You have to send the thank you letter. I'm going to rush through this because I want to make sure we finish. Select memorable photos. That's how you get repeat donors. If they feel that they're really helping out the students. Refer to the funding opportunities. That's what I just showed you. Get inspired by other projects. So look at other projects in your subject area or in your state and see what they're asking for and see how they're writing their proposals. Don't use teacher language. We've mentioned that a few times. Follow the writing guidelines. Otherwise, you may get the proposal returned to you for corrections. Check spelling and grammar. Have a catchy project title, but not cliche. Making a donation. I'm just going to rush through the last because I think Michael has some housekeeping things he wants to get to. Funding tips after project posts. Here's websites. They're all on Donors Choose, where you can get some additional help, or else, yeah, that's the best way to get some help. Okay, and best of luck. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to pass it back to Michael. So let me stop sharing, and if I pass the ball to Michael, I think you get it.
Yep.
You got it?
I'm good. Thanks so much, Howard and Lisa, as we begin wrapping things up. A lot of questions have been asked tonight, and we've been trying to get those questions answered. If you do have any last-minute questions, please feel free to try and get those asked. We will try to get those questions answered.
Should I answer some now?
Sure.
Like I see one of the asking if the proposal is not fully funded. You do not get the part that is not funded, but the donor is given the option of giving a gift card to you for your next proposal, or contributing to a different project. Do they kick back if your teachers or kids are wearing school logos? Yes, they will kick the proposal back for a bad picture. Contributors potentially receive a tax deduction because it's a charitable organization, so depending on their tax situation, they may receive it. It's treated as a charitable contribution. Other questions? I didn't scroll all the way up.
Maybe if some of those questions come in, Howard, you could just try and maybe type a response, or Lisa, you've been doing that as well.
Okay.
So thanks so much for all the questions, and Lisa and Howard for trying to take some of those and answer those.
Just one quick question that I saw that I wasn't sure how to answer was the time limit. I forgot how that works, Howard. How much time?
It's 4 months. It's 4 months. So once the 4 months is up, then if it's not fully funded, then it's no longer live. So as mentioned a second ago, that if people did contribute, they don't give the money back, but the contributor is given the option of either giving a gift card to that teacher for their next proposal, or finding another proposal. So it's donors chooses money, but they allow the donor to allocate it as they wish. But it's basically 4 months.
Thanks. So we're excited that this year's T-Cubed International Conference is coming to San Antonio in early March. It's a great time of year to visit Texas, and what's even better is that there's going to be lots and lots of presentations going on over the course of March 2nd through the 4th, and those presentations are going to be on different types of technology from TI, so whether it's the TI Inspire, TI E4, et cetera, TI Innovator, or maybe different pedagogies, or even things such as what you just witnessed tonight. So I'd be surprised if there wasn't any sessions that dealt with receiving funding and grant writing, et cetera. So please visit us. Come see the T-Cubed International Conference and experience it. It's a great way to meet people like Howard and Lisa. I would bet my bottom dollar that they're going to be there. So you can have a chance to actually meet them in person and talk to them about grants that you're writing or have written, and questions that you have. So please feel free to join us. Lisa mentioned earlier in the agenda that tonight we're giving away to one lucky winner a T-Cubed International Conference registration. And tonight's lucky winner is Linda Kunaki. So Linda, congratulations. We'll be in touch over email in the next couple of days to give you a little more information about that, but we really hope to see Linda as well as everyone else at the T-Cubed International Conference. When you leave the webinar, a brief survey will automatically appear in your browser. That survey guides us as we plan future online events, and we really listen to your feedback. So we hope you share your thoughts in the post-webinar survey. To receive a certificate of attendance, go ahead and click the link in the chat window. Also listed is a link for the documents that were used tonight, and maybe pay special attention to some of those documents because Lisa and Howard provide some really great information on Donors Choose and information from our website as well. So please take a look at those documents as well as the certificate. And if you happen to miss those for any reason, go ahead and just hang out and look at your email. In the next couple of days, you'll automatically get a follow-up email. In that follow-up email will be a link to the recording as well as a link to the documents and a link to the certificate as well. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of questions were asked, and we did our best to try and get a lot of those questions answered. If you have any additional questions that were not answered or questions after we end tonight, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-TI-CARES or send us an email at ti-cares@ti.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much, Lisa and Howard, for everything you shared tonight. You guys, again, shared a lot of information, and we had a lot of great questions and comments. So thanks so much for everything that you shared tonight.
Thank you all.
And thanks from here also.
Thanks, everyone. I hope to see you back online next week. Have a great night.